Hi everybody, Bill Calkins here. Hey, I had a question in class today. What is the Sparse repository that we see out there when we want to do an update? So I'm going to show you. I have a Solaris 11 system here, and you can see that it's running Solaris 11 for SRU 5. And I like to keep my repository up to date. I have a local repository, and I actually have two repositories, 11.3, 11.4. And I like to keep my 11.4 repository up to date so that when I'm running multiple systems on my network, each system might be at a different SRU level. So it's important that I keep those all in my repository so that on any given system, I can grab that repository and install it. So if I do a quick package list and I list all of the updates that are out there using the AF option, you can see I have all of the SRUs for 11.4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And now I'm going to install 10, which just came out summer of 2019. Now, if I don't install each one of these SRUs in order, then that SRU is not going to be available in my repository. In other words, I could have installed SRU 1 and then skipped and installed SRU 6 and then skipped and then installed SRU 9. But when I do my list here with an AF, you would only see those SRUs, and I wouldn't be able to go back and put in, let's say, SRU2 later if I determined that one of my systems needed to be at that version. So it's good practice to just keep your repository up to date with each SRU as it comes out. Now, before we had the Sparse repository, we had to go to Oracle's website, and here's where I go. I go into my Oracle, and of course I have to have a contract, a support contract to do that. And I'm going to search for the SRU 11.4 index, and here it is, Solaris 11.4 support repository update index. Make sure you get the one for 11.4, okay? 11.3 has its own. And it gives me this index with all of the updates. Now, one column is the IPS repository, and then I have another column which is the Sparse repository. If I'm going to skip SRUs, I need to install this, my repositories from this section. So I would download these files. And if you look here, let's look at SRU 4.10. And let's go into that repository, and you'll see there's 5 zip files, each almost 2 gigabytes in size. So that's a lot to download. Now, if I go back and I look at the Sparse repository, the files are much smaller. That's because each Sparse repository is sort of an incremental versus a full repository. So the only way I can use these Sparse repositories is if I incrementally install each SRU. And in this case, I already have SRU 9 out there, so I'm going to just install the incremental or the Sparse repository for 11.10. And you can see it's only 2 zip files, so it's a lot less to download. So you can download these SRUs a lot quicker, and they're a lot easier to install. So I've already downloaded these, and I just use FTP to transfer them over to my Solaris system, and I just dropped them into my root folder here. And we go to SRU 10, which is where I put them. And you can see here that I've got, let me widen this just a little bit. I've got 3 files, and this is my installer. So I'm going to unzip that. And now I've got my install, and I'm going to go ahead and install that. So we'll do we'll run the install script, and we'll tell it the location of the repository, which in my case is sitting in IPS, and it's called 11.4. So we'll let that install. And it's asking me, do you want to update this repository? Current version is 11.4.9. I'll say yes. It's going to uncompress those 2 zip files, and it's going to populate my repository with that new SRU. So we'll let that run. Okay, I fast forwarded through that. It took about maybe 10 minutes to install this update. And now we're just going to verify that it's out there. We should see it listed now. If not, sometimes we have to do a refresh. And you can see it's not listed. So the next step is to do a package refresh. And now we'll list them. And you can see SRU 10 is out there. Now it's up to you if you want to install it on this particular system, but this is just a repository system. So I'm just going to keep it out there in case one of my other systems in my lab environment needs to install one of these SRUs. So that's it. I hope this helps. And if you have any questions, feel free to email me at wcalkins@unixed.com or leave a comment. And don't forget to come to unixed.com for all of your Solaris and Linux training.